Oke, Assalamualaikum, selamat pagi, good morning, salam sejahtera for all of us. I think because it's already 8 o'clock in Indonesia time, better if we start our event. Okay, for today we have discussion, we have talk about very interesting topic. I think how to cater that online pandemic situation. I think this is a very interesting topic. And before we start, I think I need to greet somebody here. I need to greet Bu Endang, selamat pagi. Bu Neni, selamat pagi. Bu Atika, and Dr. Junaida, good morning. Okay, maybe first of all, Bu Endang have a greeting for all of us. Please, Bu Endang.
Thank you, Mas Ersa. I will call you Mas, yeah, because you still younger than me, much younger than me. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, all students and also participants here, and especially thank you and good morning for Dr. Junaida Yusof from University Technology Malaysia, who agreed to share your expertise and also your knowledge, your experience in several things, especially regarding the research and in survey methods, yeah, in online base, yeah, which is right now it is very popular. It is become a trend as well as because it is one of the challenge and some this how we overcome in doing research during the pandemic situation. Yeah, I think it is very important, and I believe also that it's this kind of method, the strategy will not end until when the pandemic ending, but also it would continue because of the effectivity and also the efficiency. Yeah. Very welcome to our Faculty of Psychology, yeah, our beloved Faculty of Psychology from Erlangga University in Surabaya. As we talked earlier, that you never been to Surabaya, and we hope this is the gates, yeah, to have another chance, hopefully in the future, to come and visit us, to share with us face to face, yeah, to see the weather of Surabaya and the foods of in Surabaya. Yeah, and we also hope that we may also collaborate in other new forms of collaborations, not only in lecturing or sharing knowledge, but also in research. Yeah, I know Dr. Junaida for other participant from research activity that we do together. Yeah. So yep. And thank you also for participants. I hope you learn a lot from Dr. Junaida, and we may also develop our research strategy in the future more efficiently, more sophisticated, hopefully. Yeah, it's not only for today, but we may also, through this discussion today, we may also generate some other strategy, yeah, to conduct research in the future. Thank you again, and I will give back to Mas Ersa to moderate this session.
Thank you, Bu Endang, Dr. Endang, for your greeting. I think before we start Dr. Junaida talk, better if I read first her profile. Dr. Junaida is a senior lecturer in School of Human Resource Development and Psychology, Faculty of Social Science and Humanities, University Technology Malaysia. And she also finished her doctoral degree in University Technology Malaysia in April 2018. And her expertise is in industrial and organizational psychology, especially in organizational citizenship behavior, OCB, leader-member exchange, workplace spirituality, psychological empowerment and prosocial behavior. And also, Dr. Junaida teach in research, have a lot of experience, teach in research area like research and research method in psychology, introduction to statistical method psychology. So I think maybe brief profile from Dr. Junaida. Also, she have a lot of experience in practical things, yeah, like become a consultant in many organization, and of course have a lot of experience in research also. Okay, I think brief. That's a brief profile from Dr. Junaida. And for all of audience, if you have some question in the middle of the talk from Dr. Junaida, you can write your question in chat box. And maybe if you if Dr. Junaida finish her talk, maybe you can ask directly with open your mic later after Dr. Junaida finish her talk. Okay, that's all. Maybe without waste the time, I give time to Dr. Junaida. Please.
All right, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and very good morning to everyone. Especially thank you to our moderator. I think I should call also Mas Ersa. Mas Ersa. We have a Bu Endang here, Bu Atika, and also Bu Neni, and also to all our beloved students for coming for today. Okay, let me share my slides first. All right, Mas Esa, can you see my slides right now?
Yes, Dr. Junaida, we can see your slide.
All right. So as I promised today to Bu Endang, so we are going to talk about, it's more on discussion is actually, okay. So we are talking about the online data collections during the COVID-19 pandemic. Even now we are reaching, maybe we are almost end of a pandemic, but we don't know if we have another wave of the pandemic after it's not just a COVID-19, because pandemic we can classify it in other pandemics. So we have to get prepared. It's not just because of the COVID-19, but also to the other pandemic. So I think it is important for us to know some of the strategies, so that at the end, when we be hit, na'udzubillah, but if we've been hit by other pandemic, at least we have a strategies how we want to overcome this kind of scenarios. So before I start, as what Mas Elsa said before, who I am. So I'm Junaida Yusof. Normally my students will call me Dr. June. So I'm a senior lecturer from Schools of Human Resource Development and Psychology, Faculty of Social Sciences and Humanities, University of Technology Malaysia. My expertise is more on the organizational behavior and industrial and organizational psychology. So most of my research is most on these areas. And before this, when I have a conversations with Mas Ersa and also Bu Endang, they're asking about my university, where is located, where is the UTM is actually located. Okay, it's the southern regions of the Malaysians, is near to Singapore, because in Malaysia we have the northern regions and also the southern regions. For example, if you are familiar for the northern regions, we have Perlis, we have Kedah, that's some of the states that near to the northern regions. But here we are in the Johor Bahru, which is very near to Singapore. And if not because of the COVID-19 or the pandemic, normally for the Singaporeans, we come to the Johor Bahru to have their shopping, for example, to have their food. And also we also can go to the Singapore when the border is open. Okay, so what we are going to talk about today, what we're going to discuss for today is about the research approaches. It's just something like a refreshment, okay, or refreshing whatever that we have learned, because I just been told that Most of you is a psychology students. It can be an undergraduate and also the postgraduate students, which is the master and also PhD students. So it give more on a refreshing, because I do believe that most of you already know what is the research, what the approaches that we have in the research. Is just that a refreshment, okay? And then we have the adapting research during the pandemic is parallel with what we are going to discuss for today. And then research strategies during the pandemic. And then I will give you some of the examples, some of the case studies that we can go through and see what this kind of the research, what kind of the researcher have been done before the pandemic, during the pandemic, and also we call as the endemic. Right now we are almost into the pandemic, so we call as the endemic. And also we have to discuss some of the ethical considerations, because when we talk about the psychology, any research is not just a psychology, and any research we must follow the ethical considerations and fulfill all the ethical regulations, and also get the agreement for the IRB, okay, institutional review board, for before we run our research. Okay, before that, because I don't want to be a very it's a very strict like a lecture, so maybe we can have some of the games before we start. So let me share this one. You can go to the Kahoot. Okay, you can go to the Kahoot. Use this password 9346853. Okay, let me see if we already have the participants. Let me share first this password. So you can go to the Kahoot. Let me stop sharing first. I hope it's more on interactions, so that you are not sleepy when when I give a talk. Okay, you can go to the Kahoot and use this password. Okay. Oh, I think they give us a new pin. Wait, I give you a new pin. Okay. Okay, use this pin instead of the first one, because it's already expired, because I setting 30 minutes before we start. Okay, you can use this. Let me share the screen. Okay, we have a participants. We're still waiting for the participants. Mas Elsa, you can see my interface right now, right? My screen using the Kahoot.
Yeah, but it's still up for that. Okay, it's good.
So we are waiting. We have morning, we have a Fatia, IFT. You can use your own name if you don't want to be recognized. Because some of the students, they are very shy, okay? They are very shy. We have Far, we have Jaya, Valina. We have Fai, I think, the way how I can pronounce. Others would like to join? You can use your phone, is actually. Just type www.kahoot.it. I think most of the students is familiar with the Kahoot. So we have a Israfi. Anyone else want to join? Don't worry. It's just a game. Anyone? Okay, if only we have 10, so it's okay. So all these 10 players, you can go and beat who will win. Okay, we will start. It's a talk about the research. It's a very simple questions. Dr. Esa, can you see the can you hear the sounds?
Yes, I can hear the sound. But how many participants join with your Kahoot?
Many participants?
How many? Because in my screen only 4. It's correct?
Oh, we have already, we have a 10. So this is the first questions. It's okay. Whoever can join, so you can join. Okay. Oh, why the rest cannot answer? It's actually, okay, when you use your phone, I'm not sure, Dr. Esa, is it the students is familiar with the Kahoot?
I think we are familiar with Kahoot. Maybe they're not ready yet.
Okay, it's actually when you open your Kahoot, okay, so they will give the question. You have to look at on my screen for the questions, okay, and you have to answer based on the screen that you use. For example, if you use your phone, so you have to answer based on the phone. Okay.
I think Dr. Jun, maybe you need to reshare your screen maybe, because the screen I think is like, because
oh really?
Yeah, the question is not appear in our screen. Maybe you can stop share first and then share again. Maybe you can try.
Okay. Oh, that's why they cannot answer.
Yeah.
Okay, let me. How about now, Mas Esa?
Not yet, Dr. Jun. Maybe you can stop share screen first, maybe, and share screen again. Stop share first.
Sorry, guys.
Share. Stop your screen share first. The red button on apa ya?
Okay, I stop sharing.
Yes. And maybe you can try to reshare your screen again.
Okay, I know. Maybe I just go to the. Okay, Kahoot. How about now? Can you see? See?
Not.
Okay, let me stop. Okay, maybe I have to share as a desktop.
Yeah. So I think this is better. Yeah. This is.
Now okay?
Yeah.
All right. It's okay, guys. For the first questions, we missed the first questions. Okay, now for the next questions. Okay, students and whoever that's players before. Okay.
Yeah. I think it's good.
Okay. All right. Observing behavior without manipulating the situations is an example of the kind of what method. Okay, come on. This is the time. You have to answer before the time is running. Okay, 6 of you answer correct. Okay, next. Okay, we have morning. Okay, morning is our pioneer right now. Okay, the first winner. Okay, next we have another questions. When researchers see what they want to see in an experiment, we call it the FY. Just a refreshing, We call as the confirmation bias, okay? So 3 of you correct. Who is the winner right now? Okay, we have far Morning is go to the tree. Okay, next. Correlational studies show what in a research? Is a relationship. Okay, there is a difference between the effect and also the relationship. Normally relationship we use the correlation, and also the effect we use the regression. Okay, so who is our winner right now? Okay, still Far. Okay, Far. Next questions. Which of the following statements are true about survey? Okay, which one? Okay, they are very expensive to conduct. Okay, 4 of you answer correct, which is they collect the large amounts of the information efficiently compared to the quantitative, the qualitative. All right, who is the winner? We still have a Far. Good job, Far. Okay, next. What is the longitudinal method? Faster, you have another 9 seconds, 8 seconds. Following the same group of people for a long time, that's we call as the longitudinal. It's very important for you to understand the basic concept before we start our research and conducting our research, or even plan for our research. That's why we have to know the technical terms in the research. So still Far. Good job. Okay, now another 2 last questions. What is the purpose of a control group? This one is if you use the qualitative. After the more fastest you are, the more marks that you will get. So we have 6 seconds, 5 seconds. So the answer is compare to the experimental groups. Okay, so 5 of you is correct. We see, okay, Far going to below, and then now we go to Faye. I think Faye. Okay, last questions. We want to see the winner. Which of the following is not guideline established by APA for the psychology experiments? Which is not? Is it info consent, right to be protected, right to be debriefing, right to personal choice? So the answer is right to personal choice. It's actually there is a here I use some of the manipulations word. Okay, they have it's actually for the respondents. They have a choice to choose either want to go or you want to join our research or not. Okay, to be a part of our participants or not. But we cannot fulfill their personal choice. Meaning to say, if they say that our research is not applicable to them, so they are willing and they are okay to be not in our research. Okay, compared to most of you, right to debriefing. Okay, debriefing is something that is important, even is stated in the APA protocols. Okay, so we have to debrief them, give us some of the procedure what we have to do, especially if related to the experiments. Okay, so we will see the winner. Who is the winner? Fatia, number 3. Faye, number 2. And number 1 is we have Far. Okay, Far. Maybe you can claim your rewards to Bu Endang. Bu Endang will asking me why me. Okay, Far. Right,
okay, Far, show your identity.
Yes, show your identity so that you can claim your rewards to Bu Endang. Who is Far? Okay, Far. Okay, thank you so much, guys, for participate in this Kahoot. Okay, let me leave first this one. Okay, let me share back my slide. Okay, Mas Esa, is it okay now?
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, we can see our presentation.
Okay, so whatever that we have go through before, as I say, is a technical. Okay, it's something that we have to know at least a basic guidelines, a basic idea what is the research about before we conducting or design our research. Okay, what is a research? Research is, Creswell said that research is a process of steps used to collect and analyze information to increase our understanding of a topics and also issue. Why we call a process of a steps? Okay, because it's a systematic. In a research, we cannot jump from one step to another without fulfill the first one. Okay, for example, if you want to do a survey, for example, a questionnaire, you want to distribute a questionnaire, you cannot go. You cannot distribute a questionnaire without items or without validations of the items. Okay, item meaning is the question itself. Okay, so we have to go through the process itself. It's a systematic in order to collect and analyze. After we collect, we have to analyze. Okay, that's why we have I think most of us we use the standard chapters, which is chapter 1, for example, introductions, and then we have the literature review, methodology, and the chapter 4 is the for the analysis. Okay, so that's why we have to analyze, and the last part, which is we have the conclusion. Without the correct instruments that we use, it doesn't matter regardless of the quantitative or the qualitative. We have to use the standard and also the valid statistical tool or instruments we call, okay, in order to have a better understanding of our topic and issue, especially, for example, if for the postgraduate students, whatever the research that you are doing right now, so it's become your expertise. When we call, okay, what is your expertise? So my expertise in what area? Maybe developmental psychologist, maybe in the clinical psychologist, maybe in organization, industry and organization psychologist, for examples. Okay, so it consists of 3 steps, which is a pose of questions. Okay, it must tally with the research questions. Whatever that we have, for example, we want to study about stress. So what kind of the questions that we have go through and we have to state in our research? For example, what is the levels of stress among students? What is the relationship between stress and performance among students, for example? And it must be parallel with the objective, which is to measure the levels of stress among students. That's the first one. And then the second one, to measure the relationship between the stress and performance among students, for example. Okay, how we want to answer the question, how we want to achieve these objectives based on the data collection. We have to collect data to answer the questions. Okay, the data collection, it can be the probability, non-probability, for examples. It can be qualitative, quantitative, or mixed method, for example. So we have to see which method is most suitable with us. That's why it's very important for us to have a better understanding on it. Okay, next we have to present an answer to the questions. Okay, this one is more on the analysis. Okay, the statistical tool that we want to use. We have, for example, SPSS. Normally, students we use the SPSS, but for the postgraduate, for example, you have the advanced one. Okay, you have the structural equation modeling. Under the structural equation modeling, for example, you have AMOS, you have the SMART PLS. For the qualitative, for example, you have the NVivo, you have the Atlas, for example, how you want to thematic and also the classifications of your data. So it's again, as I always say, it's very important for us to understand these technical things. Okay. Okay, next what we have. Okay, this is just a brain check before we go for our main topic. What the approaches that we have in the research? So basically we have 3 approaches in the research, which is the first one, we have the qualitative research. Okay, and then we have the quantitative research. And also we have the mixed method. Most of you may be in the research method course, so you have a better understanding what I'm saying. Okay, so a qualitative is a focuses on the individual meanings, meaning to say maybe we have an interview one-to-one, okay, or maybe we have the ethnographies, for example, so we have to stay in one village, for example, in order to get better ideas how they live, okay, how they communicate, for example, what kind of the mindset that we have, okay. And then uses of open-ended questions, normally we asking them in open-ended questions. Can you imagine if I'm asking just a close-ended question to them, okay, what is your name, what is your feeling, without really exploring what the means by the informants. Normally in the qualitative we call as the informant, okay, we didn't call as the normally we didn't call as the responder, we call as the informants because they inform us the informations, okay. And then we have the collects data in the participant settings. As I said, we go to that that area. If we still can ask them to go to our place, but it cannot give the better ideas how their life, how their interactions with their societies compare if they go to our place, okay. And then uses an inductive approach. Uses of inductive approach meaning that to say we are trying to develop a new theory from whatever that the information that we get, the data that we got, okay. So we try to develop a theory because it's not compulsory for the qualitative to have a theory. Compared to quantitative, we have to come up with the grounded theory. So this is the differences that you have to know before you plan for your research, okay. We don't want when we go to we already plan, okay, we think that wow, my research will become bombastic, kan? But at the end, when examiner look at back on your research, they say, hey, you even cannot differentiate between the quantitative and mixed method. How you can plan your research? This kind of the research is not suitable for the qualitative because your research is qualitative, for example. So that's why it's better. And it's very important for us to understand and to differentiate this kind of the approaches, okay. And then in terms of the qualitative, written report tends to be flexible in structure. Why we call as is a flexible because you can have quotes, okay. You can quote whoever the informants that you have, for example, okay. And also it's not just based on the information that they get. You also can inform or reporting the way how they express their information. For example, the gesture, if they sad, so you can see the face is sad, for example. That's why it's a very important, and it's a, I think we can call as we can say as a you are very lucky enough because most of you maybe is studying psychology, so you can see this kind of the gesture you learn in the motivational subject, for example, motivational and emotion psychology, for example, the social psychology, how they interact, cross-culture psychology. So this kind of the technical terms and also the theory is very useful in your research, okay, especially if you are doing the qualitative research. Okay, next, what we have, the second approach, we have the quantitative research, okay, is a test relationship among the measurable variables. This one, as we know, in the quantitative, the most basic part, we have the independent variables, or we call as the IV, and then we have the dependent variables, which is the DV. And then for the postgraduate student, you may introduce to another variables, which is we have a moderators, we have the mediators that you have to understand. So we want to see what the linkages between these variables. And also if we use advanced statistical tool, for example, the SEM, you can come up with the model between these variables, okay. And at the end, what you can get for the IP, okay, or the copyright for your own model. All right, and then we uses the closed-ended question because why? Normally we have a specific items, okay. For example, if you want to study stress, so there is a specific item that you can use a stress, or for example, you want to study the mental health, so you can use the for example, DAS questions. Sorry, I accidentally mute. Okay, so you have a specific item, and when you want to development or do a research you want to do the instrument developmental, okay, you have to go through for the validity, for the reliability, this kind of the thing that you have to bear in mind. Maybe some of you will say, wow, so many things that we have to know in research. Yes, it's actually, but when it's come to times and times, when it's come to the from stage to another stage, you will have a better understanding on it. Okay, and then user survey instrument that produce numbered data. Okay, this one because we are going to analyze it. If you use, for example, the SPSS, so they will come out with the SPSS. For example, you can use the correlation, regression. We have what we have. We have t-test. We have ANOVA, MANCOVA, so many things that you have to come up in the statistical analysis, okay? And then test the theories deductively. Okay, this one, you are tested on the theories that has been established, okay? That's we call as the grounded theories. If let's say you have in your research, we have 4 variables, so it must have tested on the theories that you that linkage with the 4 variables that you have. And the last part is the mixed methods research, which is collect and integrates the both quantitative and the qualitative. Is parallel with the names, which is the mix. So it's a combination between the qualitative and also the quantitative. Okay, for example, what I'm hearing right now, the governments give me some funding to do about the blood donations during the pandemic. So during the pandemic, what will happen? We have the MCO, okay, which is the restrictions. We cannot go, the movement control order, so we cannot go to other places. Even as I said to the Mas Elsa before, and also Bu Endang, we only can go to the only 10-kilometer radius from our home. Okay, so there is a limitation for us to do a blood donation. We want to donate our blood because it's a very important in order to save the others' life. Okay, but there is a limitation. So the government give us as a researcher, give a funding. So what kind of the thing that we can do? For example, if the pandemic against attack, as I said, the pandemic is not just a COVID-19. What other kinds of the pandemic? So we have to get ready. So what kind of the thing? So this is the I'm heading right now. So I'm using the mixed method. Okay, so we have the focus group, we have the interview. For example, for the interview also, we cannot just go for the donor, for example, blood donor. We have to go for the staff. For example, we have to go to the blood donation center in Kuala Lumpur, if Malaysia. So we have to look at on what kind of the facilities they have, what kind of the psychological, social, psychosocial support that they need, for example. So it's not just interview, and then we support our research with the survey. For example, the survey we can give to the blood donor, what kind of the things that make them scared, for example, what kind of the psychosocial support that they need when the pandemic happened. They have the intention to do a blood donation, but they cannot go, for example. So what kind of the Ministry of Health that can do to help them? Okay. Okay, now we go to the main one. After we clear about the qualitative, we clear about the quantitative, mixed method. Now we want to plan our research. Okay, after we plan our research, and then the pandemic attack us. Okay, how do you view research during the pandemic? Is it a crisis or the opportunity? Some of us maybe say that, oh my God, the pandemic will kill me. Okay, kill in terms of I cannot do my research, for example. So it's become a crisis to us. Okay, it's give the negative impact to us compared to the positive impact. But another thing, there is an opportunity for us during the pandemic. We have learned so much of things. Okay, our norms is I think we changed 360 degrees, especially for me. For example, my husband is working at the hospital. So during the pandemic, our life is very miserable. A change 300 degrees. Okay, he is very busy with the hospitals during the pandemic as a frontliners. I have to take care of my kids, for example, and at the same time we have to do a online learning, for example, from our home. So daycare closed during that time, school also closed. We have to cater with the, for example, PDPR, we call as pengajaran and pembelajaran dari rumah. Okay, we have to have homeschooling. So it's a big disaster for us. So however, for me, there is the other side that we can see there is an opportunity that we can explore. Okay, so this is the thing that we have to discuss lah. Okay, so the first thing first, when the pandemic happened, these 4 things you have to know. It's about, the first one is about the mindset. Okay, if you learn in the psychology, because I do believe most of it is from the psychology students. So you learn in motivation and emotions about the mindset. There is a few kinds of the mindset. For example, we have the fixed versus grow mindsets. Okay, the fixed mindset. If, for example, if we think that we already state that plan A, so we only stick to plan A without thinking on the plan B, C, D, E, and E. For example, this kind of the fixed mindset. If they say that, okay lah, we cannot do an interview face-to-face during the pandemic also, so no need for us to do a research lah, we will stop lah for 2 years, for example, because the pandemic almost attacked us for 2 years. So until now, you cannot get your data, for example. Okay, however, there is another kind of the mindset. This is what kind of the mindset that we want, which is the grow mindset. What is a grow mindset? Grow mindset meaning that you know that, okay, this is the pandemic, so I have to look at on the other perspective. There is an opportunity. If I cannot do face-to-face, nowadays we have a lot of the tools, the technology tools that we have. For example, if we want to do interview, so we have the Zoom, we have WebEx, we have a Google Meet. For example, if we want to do a data collection, before this you do the data collection by using this hard copy. Can you imagine, you have to print, you have to post stick by one, and then you give a respondents. Okay, it's a time consuming, it's not just a time consuming, it's also take a lot of your money, I think. Because you have to process it, and maybe when you give to the respondents, especially if you go to the one organization, for example, let's say, okay, you give 100 sets of the questionnaire, okay, but when it is written to you, maybe only 20 or maybe 50, for example. So this kind of the thing is wasted. Okay, compared to right now, if you kind of the grow mindset, so you think, okay, the pandemic attack, so we have a Google form, for example, we have the survey monkey, for example, or monkey survey. Okay, so you have this kind of the thing that you can use. It is free. Okay, it's a free, and you can use as much as you can, except for the survey monkey, there is some of the limitation, but the Google form is a free, you can use it. Okay, and then we have you have to mindfulness. Mindfulness meaning that calm. Okay, when the first time pandemic happened, I think it's affected a lot of us, especially among the researcher, because we have planned that we want to do, for example, the focus group discussion. Maybe we have to travel not just from the state. Maybe we have to go to the other countries, for example, in order to collect the data. But it's okay. Try to keep calm. Okay, even it's affected my research, some of my research, but it's okay. Okay, and at the same time, it gives a lot of other opportunity, and then give a creativity. Okay, create is more on the creativity. Think out of the box. We always say that, think out of the box. Okay, it's not just stick to the only one. And also, when the first thing that you have to know is about the cultural responsiveness. Okay, cultural responsiveness is meaning to say you have to look at what kind of the respondents or the population that you are going to study. Okay, because we know that, okay lah, Dr. Jun say that we have a lot of the technologies that we can use nowadays. Okay, so we need to say, we cannot say that, oh, we cannot do lah, doctor, we cannot collect the data. Okay, but however, you have to look at on the cultural responsiveness, meaning to say there is some of the other cultures, maybe they are not familiar with the technologies, for example. So even you give a Google form, they don't have a tools. Okay, they don't have the things how to click, for example. They don't have the platform, for example. So even you created the questionnaire, or you set up for the Zoom meeting, or you set up for the WebEx meeting, they don't have the tools. Okay, they don't have the platform. Okay, to go. They don't have the computer. They don't have the handphone, for example, the smartphone especially, so they cannot access to your research. So you have to look at back in what condition of your population it looks like, okay? If you have a questions, you may ask or you may interrupt during my lecture. It's okay, all right? It's more on the discussion. Okay, adapting your research. How you want to adapt your research during the pandemic? Okay, this one, another the last games lah. Okay, for this part, let's play on the Padlet. I'm not sure if you are familiar or not with the Padlet, but it's easiest way. So you have to answer. I give you the link. Okay, this link to the chat room after this. And then you have to state what are the challenges when you are conducting a research during pandemic, if you have experience. So I have a basic idea what are the challenges that you have overcome, or what the challenges you still cannot overcome. So we can discuss it together. Okay, so at least it gives a generous ideas to everyone. Okay, let me paste it. Okay, you can go to this Padlet. Okay, you just have to click and it will brings you to the Padlets. Okay. Mas Ersa, can you see my Padlet right now?
Yes, yes, I can see your Padlet.
Okay. So, students, what you can do, you can go to the Padlet. Okay, this one, just add. For example, this one. Okay. If you want to write your name, you can write your name. For example, Junaida Yusof. Okay. It's more on discussion. Don't worry. Okay. So here, what are the challenges when you're conducting a research? For example, maybe bad mood. I don't know. Maybe some of us. Okay, so you can type bad mood, for example. So you just have to paste here. For example, okay. So we have one, can meet in person. Okay, we are waiting. Okay, we have lonely. Challenges during conducting research, yes. Okay. Especially among students. We want one research, okay, there is a collaborations with the other university. We use the DAS, okay, and then we get, yes, some of the students, they have a very high levels of the stress levels, anxiety, and also the depressions during the COVID-19. So it's not a simple issue. It's the issue that we have to address. So the process of collecting the data had to be controlled. Okay, we can make sure does the person who fill in our data suitable with our sample criteria. Yes, okay, exactly. This is related with the inclusion and also the exclusion criteria. Okay. How to make sure that the participants are responding the questionnaire by themselves, especially on the online survey. Okay, that's good. Okay, betul. It's correct. There's a challenges when we are conducting our research. We don't have a control. After this, we will discuss how we want to overcome this kind of the things. What are the things that we have? The challenges during the conducting research during the pandemics. I think the challenge is we need to gather more and more proof about something in this pandemic, because we cannot look at the participant directly. Yes, correct, Ehsan. Okay, that's why we have the a combination of the mixed method. Okay, a combination of the mixed method research. Okay, we have the qualitative and also we have the quantitative. It's not just, I say, it's not just we go through only one kind of the approach. We have to support with another approach in order to make sure that our topic is really reliable, and also our data collection is also can be generalized to our entire populations. Okay, the flexibility, bukan orang Surabaya, so cute, comel, bukan orang Surabaya. The flexibility. Okay, So the more patient waiting, the respond in the Google form. Yes. Okay, can observe the participant directly. Okay, this one. Who else want to participate? You can join using the link that I give in the chat room. Okay, we still are waiting. Become hard when our participant is very particular. Yes, correct. Lack of proximity with the respondent involved because there are no direct interaction. Correct. Okay, we don't have the interaction with them. It's just that based on the online, even we cannot have a physical or face-to-face meeting. Okay, good. Any others want to respond? From other students? Maybe if you run for the quantitative research, I think most of this one is the challenges that you face for the quantitative, okay, compared to the qualitative. Okay, we can see the answer here. Anyone else? Okay, done eh? Okay, let's go one by one. In the context of organization, some organization won't give us the data online. Yes, but this one is actually okay. In the context of organization, some organization won't give us the data online. Okay, this one is you have to look at based on the ethical consideration that we will discuss after this. Okay, so some of the things, especially if you doing performance, for example, among employees. So it's a very something that we cannot measure performance. It might be very various from one organization to organization, because the KPI from one organization to another organization is might be different. This organization is might look at on the more on the personal skill. For example, this organization might look at more on the behavior, for example. So it's something that and also it's a very, for them it's a confidential, because when you want to see that, so it gives a confidential things that they cannot expose, for example. Okay. Next, we have in the contact organization, some organization, okay, this one done. We have to be more sensitive to participant responses because the limitations of that exist. Yes, correct. Especially when you, one of you said that about the interactions, we cannot give the interaction, that part. The most important part that you have to do the inform of consent, okay? Inform of consent before we begin our research, so you have to state the inform of consent, also the clear procedure. Okay, after this we will discuss about the clear procedure, how you want to collect the data, some of the procedure or the setting that you have to use. Okay, the flexibility, yes, this one again before this, how to observe participant behavior during the test taking. Okay, this one is a good questions. Okay, you can run the Zoom. After this I will give an example, the another subsection, especially if we use the qualitative research. Okay, and then I think the rest I already addressed. Okay, the LO said that more patient waiting in the response in the Google form. Yes. Even one of my research is among nurses. Can you imagine nurses during the pandemic? They are the frontliners. Okay, obviously they cannot answer my questions. Also, I also affected by that things. Okay, lonely. This one is yeah lah, everyone is lonely, as I said before. Even in other research state that students have very high anxiety during the pandemic. Okay, the rest I think already addressed. Okay, thank you so much, guys, for your response. At least I get some of the ideas, what you are having, what the challenges that you have. Okay, Mas Elsa, can you see my slide right now?
Yes.
All right.
Okay.
Okay, so some of the questions that you have to consider in order, all the challenges that you stated before, okay, this is some of the questions that you have to consider, okay, before we go through for the other pandemics, or we want to do a research on the pandemic. For example, did you already have a research questions in the mind before the COVID-19? Did you already develop a research design or method of data collection before the outbreaks or the impacts of the COVID-19? Did you already start the data collection before the COVID-19, or is your study is ongoing and longitudinal? Some of these things, okay, you have to come up with these options. Okay, this is I get from the Teresa Ober. Okay, I think it's a very useful for us. For example, okay, there is a 4 questions that we have. We start here. We start here. Let me use the laser. Okay, we start here. Okay, okay, laser. All right, we start from here. Okay, this is the 4 questions that we have. Did you already have a research question in your mind? If yes, you go for here. Okay, if not, we go for this flow. Okay, for example, has the COVID-19 changed your research context? This may include the possible research setting methods that you use for the data collection, or even your target. If you didn't use, or you didn't have the research question before the pandemic, it's okay. But if you have, okay, this will become a things that you have to do amendments. Okay, if no, so you have to consider in several options, because the pandemic have been attacked. Okay, so continue to pursue your research questions, but you have to ask yourself, how could future research on my research topic contribute to understanding of the psychological impact of the COVID-19? Because we are living in the COVID-19, the pandemic era. So you have to understand on it, and you have to give us some of the elements or the contributions in your research that related to the psychological impacts on the COVID-19. Okay, if yes, okay, let's say okay, you have developed your research questions. Okay, so next question is, did you already develop a research design? After you have the research question, so you have to research, you have to develop a research design in order to answer your research questions. Okay, so if no, you can your research and method data collection be administered in manner that adheres to safety practices, such as we can have the social distancing? If yes, so you can continue. Okay, you can continue to pursue your research design, making the amendments to the IRB. IRB is the institutional review board. Okay, this is we have to get the ethical consideration and also the ethical approval before we continue our research. And at the same time, you have to ask yourself, okay, could I modify my study slightly, okay, by adding a new measure to address questions that could contribute to the understanding of the psychological impact? Because you have to understand you already have the research questions and you already have a research design, but you're just adding another one research question or a research objective. So even when you're adding only one research objective, it might give a changes in terms of your research design. But some of it, if you still stick on the same approach, which is if qualitative, if quantity is also on the same approach, so most of it, it won't affect a lot of your data design. Okay, and then if no, so you have to conduct a secondary data analysis, which is the systematic literature review or the meta-analysis of your research. Why we do a systematic literature review? Because we want to gather a lot of more of the information, and then you have to understand when you want to establish or you want to publish, okay, your publication, your journals, your articles, is not just based on the data. You also can do a systematic literature review based on your context, based on your topic, in order to get or to have a better understanding on your topic, so that you can add another elements in your research, okay, and develop a new methodological or analytical skill that could make a future data collection possible for the next time. Complete unfinished writing projects for manuscript or any other grants if you have, for example. And because I do believe that some of the postgraduate, especially for the postgraduate students, some of them, they are not just a self-funding, okay, they are being sponsored maybe by university, by the ministry, for example. So they still have to do a report times to times during the timeline that given by the sponsorship. Okay, so you have to add. You have to try to ask yourself, how could I add a research question to my study that contribute to understanding of the psychological impacts of the COVID-19? It's actually for this part, and this part is interrelated. It's just that for this part, because you already have the research design and also the research questions, you just adding on, okay, by making an amendment. Compared to this one, you don't have the research design. You have the research question, but you don't have the research design. So you have to come up with the stretch, okay, with the 0. Okay, next we go to the next question. Is your study ongoing and also the longitudinal? Okay, most of it, this one, the longitudinal research is more on the qualitative. Okay, so if no, so administer an instrument that capture information about how your participant may be impacted by the COVID-19 that affected your central questions, for example, and also end the data collection early at the first wave. For example, this one is the example that they give during the first wave that they attacked us on the March 2020. Okay, and administering the study again, examine the findings whole until the era of the COVID-19, which is in the middle. Because as I said, this is the preparation. Maybe we are almost to the endemic, okay, almost end, okay, but we are prepared for another pandemic so that we are not lost during if this kind of thing happen again. Okay, and ask yourself, how might the COVID-19 has impacted my current and future participants? Is there any way I can control for the potential confounds it might introduce in my research, for example? Okay, however, if you have your study is ongoing and also you have started for several years, for example, you have to consider these several options. The first one is administer the instrument that capture information about how your participant maybe have been impacted by COVID-19 that affect your central questions. Okay, let's say you want to do about the impacts of the gadget for the developmental psychology or for developmentals of the children, for example. So you can do the longitudinal. You already started since they are born, for example. So you do an observation and everything. And at the end, the COVID-19 happened, okay? When the COVID-19 happened, most of the children, they didn't go to the childcare. Okay, they're just staying at home with the parents, and at the same time, the parents have to work. Okay, they are working at home. So the options that the parents have, give a gadget. So it will impact your research because it's prolong the exposure to the children using the gadget. So it might give a impact to your result. Okay, compared to the previous one. Okay, compared to the before this. Okay, this is some of the things that you have to put in your limitations and something that you have to consider in your research. Okay, and then collaborate with the other researchers studying a similar topic longitudinally and making a coordinated effort to administer a similar skills to participants, particularly if you are worried about a study attritions. Okay, as soon as possible, conduct an attrition analysis to see if a long run, okay, data is missing as a function of certain background variables, and consider locations of the community specific impact of COVID-19, because during the COVID, they have the restriction, some of the states, some of the areas, okay, some of the, for example, the areas of the house, okay, we cannot go to them, okay. So ask yourself, how might the COVID-19 have impacted your current and future, and also your future participants? If there is any that you can do to control the potential confounds, it might introduce to your research. For example, as I said before, if you do the longitudinal about the developmental effects on the gadgets for the children, so you might have the discussion with the parents, okay, meaning that to say, you try to ask the parents to limit, okay, but what kind of the thing that you can help the parents? This is the thing. You cannot provide the parents with the helpers, for example, because it will increase your cost for your research, for example. So this is the thing that you have to communicate with your participants, okay, or your informants, okay. I hope that this is might help you. Okay, this chat might help you. Okay, next we go for the strategies. If you have a questions, you might ask in the chat room, or even you can unmute your mic. Okay, you can ask me the strategies, because I enjoy for us to have a more on discussion compare I just give a lecture. All right, next we go for the strategies, what we can do. For the qualitative data collection, because for the quantitative, I think it's more easiest, it's more easy for us to tackle compared to the qualitative, okay? Because the quantitative is just a survey, okay? As long as we have the exclusion, we have the inclusion criteria, we have the Google form. As long as our participant can be reached, and they have the tools to answer your question, it should be okay. All right. But the thing is, the most harder is for the qualitative data collection, which is, for example, we have the focus group. So what are the options that we can have? We have the online groups, okay, video based, we can have the text based, okay. The video based, for example, we can have, we have the Zoom, we have the Google Meet, we have the WebEx, for example, and the text based, even we have a WhatsApp, for example, okay. So you can text them in not to get the information, but you can text them, for example, the procedure, so that a day before you conduct the focus group, okay, FGD, the focus group discussion, so at least they are clear with the procedure, they are clear what the topics that they are going to discuss, for examples, okay. So the opportunities you have the more accessible, okay, compare before this, can you imagine if before the pandemic attack us, if we have or we want to invite the guest lecturer lah, for example, me from the Malaysia, so I have to fly to the Surabaya, for example, to Yunnan, okay, to give a talk. Compare right now, we have a lot of the opportunity. We can see all around the world. We can invite our friends from the America, for example, from the US, from the Saudi, for example, to give a lecture, okay, to become a guest lecturer in our class, okay. So it's more accessible. It same goes to the focus group, okay. Before this, you have the limitations to go to any district, for example, any rural area. But for the rural area, focus group is still applicable for you to go lah, okay. And during pandemic, it's not applicable because the movement restriction, but it gives more opportunity for you to get be access in your research, to get more informant, to get more participants, okay. And also it's inclusive. Why is inclusive? Because you can it's something like you can categorize. Okay, I want the participant to have the experience more than 5 years. So easy for you to go one organization to another organization without asking for the without asking their confidential data. Okay, in a research, if you want to do a confidential data, you still can do that, but there is a strict informed consent that you have to state. And also when you want to publish, okay, you cannot simply state the names of the organizations. Okay, normally we use the replacement, for example, company A at the Surabaya, company B at Jakarta, for example, okay. And then some of the challenges, yes, Mas Esa, I think it's accidentally unmute someone.
Oh no.
Because I heard some sounds.
Oh, okay. I will help.
All right. So next we go for the challenges. For the focus group, for example, flow of the conversations. Okay, we have challenges for us to control, as what your friends mentioned before. Okay, we cannot control, we cannot ask them, even just what happened just now. Okay, we cannot control like that, but for the Google Meets or for the Zoom, for the WebEx, for the host, they can control, they can mute, unmute the participant. But in the research, for example, if you're asking, okay, I'm asking, for example, let's say I say, Mas Ersa, what do you think about your emotions during the pandemic? But when Mas Ersa don't want to answer, so I cannot force him. Okay, I cannot go to the Mas Ersa and say, hey, Mas Ersa, you have to answer my questions. You cannot. Okay, even you already stated, okay, I have a 50 participants, so that all the participants will give me information. No, maybe only 3 or 2. Okay, even what happened just now, for example, when we have a Padlet, okay, it same goes to the online learning. We have a Padlet, we have the Kahoot. Not everyone will participate. Okay, so we out of control of it, okay, even the flow of the conversation during the focus group, okay, and then it give some of the privacy impact. For example, because we do online, we don't know, some of us maybe not really follow the integrity, so they capture some of the information, they do a video recording, even we say that this is a confidential, it's just for the research purposes, okay, or maybe especially if you are doing the policy, for example, is related with the policy, policy we call as policy lab, for example, okay. So if you do the policy lab, is most of the information that we get is a confidential, because we want to improve whatever that we have before. So we have to discuss the flaws or the limitations of the policy before. So some of us or some of the participants or informers might be capture that things and then use it virally in the social media. So this kind of the thing that we have to cater when we do the focus group, especially online. Okay, we have to make sure that our participants, all the participants understand the procedure, okay, and beyond of that is beyond of our control. And then the third one is the technology difficulties. This is what happened to me just now when I said to the Mas Erisa before, because he is my moderate, he's a moderate this talk. So I said to Marisa, normally in my university, we are using the WebEx, okay? But when I have the meeting with the other organizations or other collaborators, we use the Zoom normally, okay? But it's just that before this, I'm using the other PC, and then now I use another PC. So it give a confusion to me, for example. So it give a technology difficulties. It same goes to your participants. Not all the informers or the participants know how to use the WebEx, Google Meets, for example, or even Zoom, okay? So that's why you have to come up with a clear picture. It's easier. For example, after this, I give you an example what you can do. For example, the first day, the 10 days before, you have to email them, for example, come up with the link, okay? You give some tutorials to them, how to use the tools that you are going to use in your focus group, okay? Okay, interventions. If you do the interventions in research, this is some of the consideration that you have to do. For example, can intervention be adapted for the online or social distancing? For example, if you want to do, okay, if you want to see the effectiveness of the new module, for example, in teaching and learning, okay, is it that module can be integrated in the online learning or not? Okay, this is something that you have to ponder. That's something that you have to ask yourself as a researcher. And how will this change the scientific questions you want to find? Okay, can you leverage your current research plan to enhance it? As I said before this, maybe your research is not related with the pandemic, so you can add and leverage some of the elements in your research. And you are talking about the pandemic, the impact of the pandemic. You still have the research question before, it's just that you added on whatever that you have before in order to leverage the research, okay? The some of the assumptions that you can that you start to think about to adapt or not to adapt. For example, collect the empirical informations about the participant experience of the pandemic, and then you have not just collect the empirical, you have to also validate the participant experience and gain the trust among the participants, okay? Gain the trust is a very important. If you're asking that before this, the challenges that one of the challenges that you highlighted, you stated that lack of the interactions, and then you cannot control the participant because you don't know them, okay? Yes, that's why it's especially for the qualitative, you have to have a good rapport with them. Okay, rapport is not meaning that you have a good bonding. You have to know them before. Rapport meaning that they can trust you. Whatever that information that they want to give is a truly that reflected their life, that reflected the information that they have. Okay. Some of the items that you have to consider, for example, have you experienced any of the following changes in your current employment status due to the COVID-19 pandemic? For example, reduction of the my paid job, working fewest hours at my paid job, delay in getting paid, yes, choose to stay at home from my paid job due to the COVID-19 cases, and etc. Okay, and then for example, you have verify your patients. For example, please describe any specific concerns that you have. If you are studying about the transgender, if you are studying about for example, HIV patients, for example. So this kind of the things that you have to give more focus on what kind of the population that you have. Okay. Especially for those who have this, the very, we call as a very sensitive, okay, sensitive population that we cannot expose to the entire of the data that we have. Okay. It's not easy to become for example, HIV patients, and also you are the pandemic patients or COVID-19 patients. For example, you are struggling doing that. Okay. And then in terms of, this is some of the strategies that you can use in terms of the participant recruitment. The first one, okay, you have to know about the motivations. The participant may have more or less time to participate because of the pandemic. So they have a lot of the things they have to do. The household, for example, for the housewife, they are struggling with their kids. At the same time, they are working from home. Okay, so and for the frontliners, is it they have, as I said, one of my research is affected because we are doing among nurses, for example. So is it they have a time to participate in our research, okay? And may wish to share the perspective on the pandemic and also the racial injustice. Okay, this one is, for example, if they have, especially if we look at on the some of the races might have the a better treatment, for example, compared to other races, if they want to answer it. Okay, then we have to look at on the reward, or we call it as a compensation. Okay, the participant may really need money if affected economically. Okay, this is we call as the not advantage, but we call as the reciprocal. Okay, something that we want to get information from our participant. At the same time, we can give a reward to them. Okay, so because maybe they are affected during the pandemic, so we give a reward to them. At the same time, we get the information. Okay, so win-win, we call as the reciprocal lah. Okay, and then you may not have funding if study conducted several times. This is something that you have to ponder, especially if the self-funding. Okay, because in the qualitative, even the some of you maybe use the quantitative, but you use the pre and post, for example. So you have the pre, you have distribute the questionnaire before the pandemic. Okay, and then during the pandemic, you have to give the post questionnaire, for example, in order to see the differences between before the intervention and after the intervention, for example. But you are out of the money, you are running out of the money, for example. So what kind of the thing that you can give to help them? If the qualitative, maybe one of the things you can consider, maybe you can if they want to put their names as the acknowledgement, for example, maybe you can do that if they want. But some of the participants, they don't want to be revealed. Okay, so you have to discuss with them what kind of the things that you can do in order for the compensation. So win-win situation. Okay, and the last one is about the advertising, which is sensitivity to culture and also the social context can influence the participants' willingness, as I say, especially if you are related with the sensitive populations, HIV, the transgender. Not all the society will accept this kind of the things. For example, the transgender, some of the culture, they might accept. Okay, they are okay with that, but some of the culture, they are not accept. So the transgender respondents, they are feel afraid to to be in your research, okay? And then researchers represents may also play a role. Okay, this one is based on the expertise. Okay, if you are in that expert in that area, so it have a high chance for you to get a lot of the participants to be included. Okay. Mas Aisa, I think someone is not unmuted or want to talking. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
Or
yeah.
is it you?
No, not me.
Okay.
Okay, already.
All right. Thank you, Mas Aisa. Okay, next, the other, this is some of the limitation during the technology, but thank you to Mas Elsa. Other suggestion that you have to consider how your own identities and experience influence the research. This is based on how you this is a related upbringing yourself, okay? How you introduce yourself as a researcher, okay? And it's not just that if you are a student in the inform of consent, for example, you can put your supervisor names, for example, in order to convince your participants, okay? And stay informed about the current event and send a follow-up. Okay, this is a very important, especially if you are doing the interview. Okay, whatever that you have, okay, information that you have after you transcribe it, okay, you have to give to your informant again to make sure whatever that you written is correct. Okay, it is written well and it's mean what the informant say. Okay, and be ready to troubleshoot the technical difficulties. What we see before this, the Mas Elsa helped me. Okay, so you have to be ready on the technical difficulties. Even if you use the Google form, for example, at first you already set up. Okay, very nice, can? And then when it's come, you blast to the respondents. And then you just realize, we have the spelling error. And then, we have the grammatical error. And then one of the participants maybe contacted you and saying that, okay, this is not correct. Okay, the how you spell or how you pronounce, or maybe you use the jargon words, for example, okay, so they cannot understand, especially if you didn't do the pilot study. That's why it's very important to understand the basic or the technical ideas in a research. And then the additional research options, for example, you can use the systematic literature review, as I said before, while waiting for the real data collections or analyzing the data. So you can use the systematic literature review, and even you can come up with the articles, okay? And then take the opportunity to consider the new topics if you are willing to do that, okay? Okay, this is what I mean by the examples, okay? Okay, we take some of the scenarios that we have. Okay, this one, I started, okay, I give a credit to the Callaghan's, okay, because I got from him, this one. Is a parenting, for example, started during the pandemic, during the COVID, the parenting under the pressure. So research question is, what is the effect is the COVID-19 related stay at home order having on the children and the families? What is the effect, okay, of the COVID-19 when we are staying at home? So during what the things that you can do is specific needs for this research project. For example, speed. Speed is meaning that you have to become a faster lah when you want to do. So make sure that you are productive enough. And also faster enough to run your research, okay? For example, you can go for the IRB, which is the Institutional Review Board, which is to get the ethical approval. And then you have the rapid recruitment. Rapid recruitment meaning that you can get the informant, okay? And considering what is the feasible for families at this time, okay? If they are working at home, so what kind of the family that you can approach, and how to collect the data, how to reimburse the participants, okay? Another one, okay, existed before the COVID-19. This one you started during the pandemic COVID-19. So easy for us. Okay, come back. You go to the strategies that I give you earlier. Okay, still remember yes, no, yes, no. Okay, this one reflected to the started you during the COVID-19 is easiest because we are implement during the COVID-19. But the other case, which is that existed before the COVID-19, meaning that to say you already started your research and then pandemic happened. So what kind of the thing that you have to do? For sure, the amendment. Okay, you have to amend the procedure, you have to amend the research plan. For example, here you want to talk about the mind, brain, and also the body. Okay, this research is quite heavy, so it's might applicable for the give ideas for the postgraduate students. Okay, how do early life experiences influence the developments of the mind, brains, and body in youth, for example. So the specific needs. Okay, this one we don't have any research question during the that related with the COVID because we existed before the COVID-19. So what the things that we can do in order to answer this research question? So specific needs that we have to do is funded research with the data collection already underway. Okay, this one is the if you have the fund, okay, fundings, and then you have to use the fMRI, behavior biology, can be moved into the online format, something that you have to ponder, and then ensuring the integrity of the data collection through the Zoom sessions because you want to do the observations, online behavioral and also the biological data collection and making it a fun experience for the families. Okay, again, this one is related with the mindset that I said before. Is it you are a kind of the fixed mindset or you are a kind of the grow mindset? If you are kind of the fixed mindset, maybe you say that, oh, it's very difficult to the family for those, especially for those who don't have any biological background. For example, they have to do with the biological kits, starter kits and everything. They have to go through all the procedures. They have to be, so it gives a difficulty to the family. But if you are kind of the grow mindset, you might think that, okay, this will be a fun experience to the families to explore the new things instead of just go to the online, just looking on the video or the conference, or online conference, for examples. Okay. So what is the feasible for the participant for these two projects? For example, you have to know about the families are working, they are schooling, parenting from homes, okay? Non-parents individual also are many competing pressure. For example, they are working, they have the mental health concern, not have a proper space, okay, or private space for them to do that kind of the research, especially if you want to do the online. For example, like this, can you imagine if I have a kids that are playing around with me at the same time I have to talk, so I have to give my informations to the researchers, so it might give a pressure to the participants. Okay, and you might want to do a 40 minutes questionnaire, but what you can do, target population feasibly, contribute to the terms of during the COVID-19. Be transparent about what the participant needs. Okay, you have to mention to them early, okay, if you want to do a kind of this kind of the project, so you have to list out what kind of the thing they have to prepare. For example, maybe camera in the computer, available computer, Wi-Fi, or the private space, so that they can make it or set up for you early. Okay. Okay, recruitment tools that you can use, for example, as I said, the Google Form, Monkey Survey, Zoom meeting, Google Meets, and we have the WebEx. And nowadays we have a lot of the others. If you want to do a test, for example, you have a quizzes, you have the we are not really using the Moodle. Moodle is for students, but we have the quizzes, we have the Kahoot that you can try, for example. Okay. So this one is related with the biological things. Can I collect the biological samples at homes? Okay, things that to think about. The participant guided biological sample collection through the Zoom. Okay, shipping at the ambient temperature is easiest. Okay, in order to make sure that all these things is not fragile, and when it's being shipped, the participant or the informants will receive in a good conditions, okay, and over educates the participants, the videos, paper instructions, the verbal instruction. These are all things that you can use, okay. For example, you can help them by making the videos, okay, or making it online, or at the same time you have the paper instruction or verbal instruction, because in psychology you have to bear in mind we have a different kinds of the learning. We have different start of learning. For example, maybe I'm more on the infographic, okay. So infographic, I just look at on the picture so I can understand, for example, but I'm a kind of the readers, so I have to understand by reading. If I just look at on the picture, I cannot understand, for example. So different participants have a different stance, okay. So you have to cope and you have to understand the nature of your participants in order to get the better data and also informations, okay, and also make sure it must be reliable. Okay, for example, this is the study setup that you can use. This is just a time, we call as the timeline or the plan, how you can use, okay. The schedule participants, this one is reflecting to the project that we discussed before, because we are under discussion. So the first thing is schedule the participants and send a welcome email. Okay, normally we send an email to them, or if they are not familiar with the email, so you can use the WhatsApp, for example. Okay, you can use the messages, okay, send to them welcoming, and then give the appreciation to them because they are willing to join our research, for example, and then give the science board arrive in the mail, okay, and then this because you want to ship, okay, and then log into the Zoom session with the 1 hour family, because we have a schedule here, so the families can understand and can follow the procedure, so you can log into the Zoom session for 1 hour, for example. So what you have to do, okay, this one, research is about planning, is about strategies, okay. Without strategies, without planning, it's a bit difficult, not a bit, a huge difficult, okay, for you, because if you cannot come up with the plan A, plan B, plan C, so my teachers always said that before, okay, you become, it's just something like you open the oven, you put your stuff into the oven, and then you become a roasted chicken. That's always, or that's what my teachers always said, become a roasted chicken lah if you don't have any plan in your research, okay. So this is the plan that you have to follow. During the session, what you have to do, the welcome, and then parent-child observation recorded on the Zoom. This is one of the challenges that your friends highlighted before, okay. If you want to do the observation, how? So you can use the Zoom, for example, parent-child observation, okay. And then parents does the questionnaire while child does behavioral tasks on the computer, okay. This one is meaning to say that there is the 2 tasks that the families that you can that families have to undergo, okay. The first one is the parents have to answer the questionnaire, okay. It's more maybe on the attitudes, is more on the behavioral, is more on the psychological part, emotional parts, for example, okay. And then the children have to do the task on the computer, and then guided the biological sample collection. This is what the picture before, okay. You have to show, maybe you have to show to them the videos, you have to show to them the procedure, the written, okay. And then study wrap-up and instruction for the next section. Okay, this one, the study wrap-up and instruction, meaning to say in each section, you must have the summarization. You cannot just, you give a lot of the information to your participants, but at the end, they are flying all around the world. They don't know. At the end, what I have to do, at the end, what is the conclusion of this session? You cannot. It's just same in our class. For example, can you imagine if I just talk without talking about what we are going to go through, and also the summarization in our class. So it's something that I give you everything. Okay, I give you chicken, I give you meat, I give you rice, but at the end, I didn't allow you to eat. This is something that the metaphors, okay, along the process. And then after the session 1, okay, and then you have to reminder for the session 2. If you have another session, let's say you have another session, maybe you have to remind them, okay, you give a break for 10 minutes, for example, 30 minutes or 1 hour breaks, okay, and then you continue with the session 2, which is maybe will take you 50 minutes, for example. Is depending on your research, okay. All right, online data collection. This is for online data collection. Even its complicated protocols can be transitions online if you think and plan carefully. It won't be the study you dream of, but it will be a good study if you have a kind of the grow mindset and you take it a challenge and thinking at is one of the opportunities, and this is a research opportunities for you, and but yourself in the participant shoes, okay, you have to bear in mind, try to look at on the flexible times and the most appropriate time for the informants or the participant to be included in our research. Define your priorities in the outset and need to data fast, for example, need to follow up, choose the best tool for your ref purpose, and take care of yourself in this along the way of the process lah. Okay. And then transferring a research online, okay. What is the manageable is, for example, 30 to 60 minutes at home with the parents and also the child. Okay, think about who will be in the house, how many computers that we will have, if they have a cameras in the screens, okay, if a plan B, if they do not, so what you can do, maybe you can send them a one iPad, for example, or no, not sending them, meaning that give them a borrow. If give the iPad, so everyone want to become your participants. Okay, so maybe you can give them borrow them a tablet, for example, a computer, so at least you can administer accordingly. Okay, what cannot be done, for example, physiology, standardized cognitive tests, this is something that the limitation that we cannot do during the online data collections. Okay, what can be done at home, observation of the child, interaction, questionnaire, behavioral tasks, some of the biological samples that you can send. Okay, but make sure that when you want to do that, make sure it's the easiest way and also the simplest way. Okay, you want to be there, for example, on Zoom when they are doing that, something that you have to think and remember, it is a longitudinal study, some things that can be done in the future in the person with, meaning if a longitudinal, if one person from one time until to another time, so you have to make an interaction with these participants. Okay. Okay, this is the most important parts. Okay, when you are doing the studies, I think this is the last part lah that we are going to discuss before we open the discussion, because we are running out of time. Ethical considerations. When I'm teaching my students, I always say that this is the most important part. Okay, if you have a plan A until Z, but you don't have the ethical considerations, is nothing in your research. Okay, because we have to give a rights to our participants. Okay, they have to know their rights. The first one is consider codes of the ethics. For the psychology, normally we use the American Psychological Association ethical, we call as the APA. So you can get from here the APA ethics code. Okay. And then you have to apply the institutional review board. This is what we call as a IRB. Most of the institution, most of the campus or college, they have the IRB. Okay, you have to undergo, and then to get the approval, ethical approval. After you get the ethical approval, so you can continue with your study. But this one is just for the IRB. The next, you have to get the necessary permission. Let's say you want to run your research at the hospital, for example. Okay, so you have to get the approval, maybe from the ministry or maybe from the chairman of the hospitals. Okay, if you want to do from the one organization, so you have to get a permission from the CEO, for example, from the director of that organizations before you run the research. Okay, and then negotiate the authorships for the publication. As I said, let's say if your respondent said that, okay, I give the information, lots of the information, I want you to acknowledge me. So you have to acknowledge that participant in your research if they're asking for that. Okay, so meaning to say when we are doing a research, we have to be a transparent. Okay, it's not just alam malu, we are very shy to talk about the names and everything. No, because at the end we don't want to have any problems. Maybe the informer we said, we thinking that you will give a acknowledgement in your paper for their names, okay, for their contribution. But maybe the other side, okay, the other way around, you might think that it's not supposed to be I put their names, because if I put their names, so I will reveal their identity. Maybe you think the other way around. So you have to have a good communication with your respondents, with your informants, or even with your research colleagues, for example. Okay. So I think I think that's all from my slide. So as a wrap up for today, we have been covered on the research, on what is the research, the definitions of the research, the approaches, some of the strategies, some of the plans, and then we have to understand about the examples that I give you. Okay, there is an example that before the COVID-19 have been started, and also after the COVID-19 has been started, and then we run a research, for example. So we have to classify and see the differences between these two. And then at the last part is we try to cater on the ethical consideration, what the things that you have to do in order for you to run the research, before run the research, and also the data collection. The most important is the informed consent. Okay, so this is the picture of my organizations and my university. This is actually we have 4 gates. Okay, 4 or 5 gates. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have 5 gates for our university. So this is one of the gate that we have. Okay, so every gate they have their different wings lah. Okay, some of the introduction to my university lah. Okay, so this is the main gates lah that we have. So we have other gates. Okay, so I open to questions, any discussions, anything that you would like to share. Back to our moderator, Mas Elsa.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Sun. I think it's very inspiring for us, your presentation. And one thing that we need to, the thing that I realized that we still can do research, and that we need is adaptation, growing mindset, and then we still have a lot of options. And then forget, we still need to consider about the ethical.
Yes.
Thank you, Dr. Sun. And now we go to the Q&A session. If any one of you have a question, please. I think this is very related to us, because we need to do our own research for our study. If you have a question, please, you can open your mic, or maybe you can write on the chat box. If you have a language barrier, you can ask in Bahasa Indonesia. I think Dr. Jun also understand it.
Yes, I can understand. I have a lot of friends from Indonesia. Even my best friends is from Indonesia.
Yeah. Okay, please. We still have 10 minutes, 11 minutes, 10 minutes before 10 o'clock in our time. Anyone wants to discuss something? Maybe you can share your difficulties to do some research with Dr. Jun.
If you have run or you have undergone your research right now, the current research, maybe you can share, and maybe we can discuss together how we can solve. Because what I mentioned before, what I talk about is I think it's a general, because we cannot put it as a specific towards your topics. Maybe because some of the students might have difficulties because of their topics. Okay. Marcella, they are very shy.
Yeah.
It same goes to the Malaysia also. Even in my class, when I'm asking them, but you know, the thing is, when we ended our class, okay, I said that, okay, that's all for today. And then everyone will, thank you, doctor, thank you, doctor, thank you, doctor. everyone start to talk. But when I say, okay, any questions or would you like to share any of your experience? Everyone keep quiet and silent.
And suddenly they look at somewhere else.
Yes.
Dr. Jun, can I have one, maybe it's not a question, but a trigger for a discussion, yeah? I'm wondering about the credibility of how far we can trust, yeah, the participants' response to our question through that we distribute through online. Yeah, the first one, because we cannot, yeah, even though in offline survey we can also cannot be really approach them directly, yeah, but in online, because we don't know, sometimes also because we distribute through our networks, and it can be everyone from somewhere that we don't know where it is, yeah. Then how we can ensure that this response is truly be trusted, yeah, can be trusted. And then the second one is, if the participant, for example, we usually because our distribution is very open, yeah, then maybe the participants coming from some one area, but there are one or two from very far away from our area. And then how we should manage this data, yeah, and how to like we generate, yeah, and the data, because it is not easy to generalize it. Thank you.
Okay. All right, thank you, Dr. Endang, Bu Endang, for the questions. I think as Bu Endang said that this is more on discussions. So for the first questions, from my opinions, we have to look at on the ethical consideration back, which is the debriefing. We have to look at on the debriefing and also the informed consent. So before we start our research or our instruments, before we give them to answer, so we have to debrief them, okay, and we have to clearly highlight that this research is based on will be used for the research purposes, and the data will be analyzed for the for example the education, for the policymakers, for example, so that they know their responsibility, okay, when they're answering that, when they are reading on the debriefing, so that, oh, okay, this is for the policy impact, for example, so they will give the truly answer. Beyond that one is beyond of our control. Okay, we cannot force them. Okay, we cannot force them to answer. Okay, you have to be honest. Maybe they are running off the time, so they just put, for example, we have the Likert scales 1 until 5. They just put 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, for example. But the other things that you have to know, that's why we have the chapter 4, which is the assumptions, the allowance, and also the normalities that we have to analyze before we get the clear or the real data that we have. Okay, so when we think that, okay, this is the maybe the outlier, so we just put that or take it out from our research, for example. But the most important is the debriefing formula for me. Okay, that's why, and also the informed consent at the end, they cannot force us when we publish the information or the data that we got. Okay. And then for the second question is about if we can get from the different organizations, for example, and then maybe some of the population we have higher compared to the other populations or races, for example, but how we want to generalize. Okay, the first thing that we have to know about the inclusion and also the exclusion criteria. Okay, we have to clearly state in our research which is what is the inclusive. Let's say if we want to have the someone that have the in organization, for example, private and government sectors, for example, private and government institutions that have at least 5 years experience, for example. So you have to put clearly in your research debriefing about the inclusive criteria, so that they know when they are doing, or they have the less than 5 years experience, so they cannot answered that questions, for example, or they are beyond from that kind of the organizations. Okay, and the second thing that again back to the statistical analysis, that we can use the outliers, for example. Even if we have the outliers, meaning that like outliers, the extreme data, they are not normal. Okay, so we can exclude them to be a part of our research. If students still remember about the bell shape, so we have a 5% to the left, 5% to the right, and then we have a 90%. So we want to have the 90% of the populations in order to consider, and we can make it a generalized to the entire populations. That's why we have to have a strong, I think we call it a strong ideas, a strong knowledge on the statistical, how we want to separate or segregate our data.
So before coming to the statistical data analysis, we can also exclude some data which where if the participants is doesn't include in the inclusion criteria. Yeah.
Yes. Another part, Bu Endang. This is what one of my my students, my research assistant have done. She's I think this is a very clever lah. Again, she's have the inclusion and also the exclusion criteria. But the other thing, she also put in the demographic data. For example, she only want the private organization, don't want from the public organization. So she just only private. But we know that most of the respondents will not reading all the debriefing and also the procedure, but she included in the demographic part. So the respondent have to answer that they are from the private or they are from the public. Because because the students just want to get from for example, for the public, so they will exclude whatever that she got from the private, for example, or the other way around. So I think it's a quite quite nice the way they think and also strategize in order to get a very good data and info.
Yeah. Because sometimes students, for example, or we as researchers, thinks that if we don't follow the inclusion criteria, and there are many data from inclusion criteria, then we think that's in bahasa Indonesia sayang kalau dibuang gitu.
Betul.
Ya, tapi kan itu tidak boleh ya.
Tidak boleh.
Ya,
dia tidak menjawab objektif itu.
Ya, betul. Terima kasih Dr. Sini. Kadang-kadang kan ya pikirannya peneliti ya, banyak data.
Sebab tu kita kena bonded dengan ethical consideration. We have to know our right as a researcher and also the right of our participants. Because at the end we have to publish. Not we have lah, but most of the research we will publish. Not because we publish because we want to get famous ke others know us ke. No, it's just for the sake of the society. Whatever that we done, okay, whatever that we are doing for the sake of the society. At least the society knows, okay, what the things that they have to consider, what the things that can help them by reading our research. And at the same time, this is one of the way. Maybe we can have the macam webinar ke, we have a talk, so we can distribute or disseminate our information in the layman person punya language kan, so everyone can understand.
Yeah. Thank you. Terima kasih Dr. Chun. Ya, moga-moga ini bisa men-trigger other questions from student.
Thank you, Dr. Chun, Bu Endang. Any question from you?
They said that they already hungry.
Okay, maybe if there's no question, can I ask one question, Dr. Chun?
Yes.
Maybe it's not really technical, yeah, but my experience as a student when I'm in bachelor degree or master degree, we do research for our studies. One thing that important is friend, right? Because with friend we can share our anxiety, we can share something, we can have friend that, oh kamu sudah sampai mana, aku sudah sampai mana gitu ya.
Betul.
So and in this situation it's like lonely. Like lonely, like your padlet before, yeah. Like lonely, we have our communication with our friends limited. In psychological term, maybe our social support is very limited. Do you have any tips for us that still struggle with our research for study, yeah, for our graduation?
Betul Mas Ersa, betul, saya setuju tu. Dia berbalik kepada social support apa-apa pun dalam hidup ni is based on the social support that we gain from our surrounding. Maybe 1 day or 2 days we can keep motivated by ourselves, but at the end when it's come to the months, when it's come to the years, maybe we say alamak. But the good things when we have a friend, so we can compare, okay? It's not a compare in the negative way, we compare it to the positive way. So macam Mas Desa cakap tadi, kau sudah sampai ke mana, aku baru buat chapter 3, oh aku sudah chapter 4, kita akan rasa macam oh okay, we have to move forward, okay? So that's why if for me, for example, what I can do, if I have for my research assistant, for example, I will have a weekly punya perjumpaan. Is there something like, if not right now, we can go to the office, so they can go to the office. For example, I already stated, okay, on Tuesday, all the research assistants have to come to office, my office, for example. So they will do the work with me. So we have a conversations like, for me, it's more like a friend lah. It same goes to you lah. I think during during I become a student during that time, selalunya memang kawan lah. Kita akan jumpa, contoh dekat library, we cannot work alone. So we go to the library. But during the pandemic, it's a bit easier. So one of the things that we can do is by online. Okay, semua orang kena macam participate on that things. At least sometimes we are not discussing about the research things, okay? We are discussing about our life, okay? At the same time, we chip in about our research a bit, and then maybe we have a problem, so we can discuss with our friends, stated that, macam mana aku chapter 2 ni tak reti lagi ni, tak siap lagi ni, where I can find the articles, for example. I try to find the articles all around the world, all around the system in our library system, but I couldn't find, for example. Maybe one of our friends will state that, oh, kau nak yang mana? Awak nak yang mana, for example. So I can find for you, for example. During my times, even I think dekat Facebook pun, we have the doctoral support group kan. I think that one is a very very good lah for me, because sometimes they will posted I do realize that some of the students there we posted, okay, can you anyone from other university can find these articles, because my university cannot have the access to these articles, but that articles is very important, or maybe a pioneer to her or his research. And then akan ada ramai tau, because you know Mas Ersa, we know the feelings. Kita berada di tempat yang sama. You feel lonely, I also feel lonely. When you need help, I will give if I could. It's something like that. So you cannot work alone, as long as kadang-kadang memang ada orang suka bekerja sendiri. Itu memang ada. That one is exception lah. Okay, macam kita cakap tadi, 5% to the left, 5% to the right. So that one is the exception. But we are belong to the 90%. So we have to know, strategize, and we have to have a friends, a good friends. Jangan kawannya, alah tak apa, baru chapter 2, tak apa, aku baru chapter 1, kau sudah bagus. I hope it can answer your questions and give us some basic ideas lah.
Yeah. Okay, Dr. Julius, thank you for your sharing. Yeah. Okay. Because before pandemic, I think social supports come naturally. But in this pandemic situation, maybe we need to make it intentionally to make some social support, like group or something like that. Okay, thank you, Dr. Jun. Okay, I think it's already, the time is already run out. Yeah, more than 10 o'clock in Indonesian time. There's no question. There's question? Okay, no? Okay. Dr. Jun, thank you very much for your willingness to share to us about your experience. And I can feel personally your passion to do research, from your presentation. Very interesting, and hopefully we can meet each other in offline situation, or maybe we can do some collaboration again somewhere or another time, something like that. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And I think before we end this session, better if we take some picture.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe after this, Mas Ersa or Bu Endang can share with me the picture.
Okay. Okay. For the audience, have no problem with your signal or your camera. Please open your.
Yeah, especially for doctoral students to reduce your feeling loneliness.
Yeah.
Yes, by take a picture together and then maybe meet together. Yeah.
Yeah. No, Indonesia they cannot. They still online learning.
Yeah. But we start this
Opening.
week. Yeah. Everyone.
Same goes here.
do
In
the
my
hybrid.
university. Oh, hybrid. Start hybrid.
Still hybrid.
Oh, okay.
Oke. Ada yang lain mungkin bisa open kameranya.
Biar kenalan. Besok kalau ketemu mau harus ada diskusi ya, research student ini routine discussion.
Ya. Oke. Ya. Ini saya hitung saat ini ada 3 slide. Ya, 3 slide nanti akan dibantu oleh Bu Valina atau Mbak Valina. Akan dibantu Mbak Valina. Ya, akan dibantu Mbak Valina. Saya hitung sampai 3. Jadi ada 3 slide. Jadi ditahan 3 kali senyumnya karena nggak tahu teman-teman ada di posisi slide yang mana. Oke. Saya hitung sampai 3 ya. 1, 2, 3. Oke, Mbak Valina sudah? Next slide ya. Oke, 1, 2, 3. Oh, cuma 2 slide. It's only 2 slide. Okay, it's done, I think. Thank you. I think if there's no question, we already take some picture. I think, once again, I would like to say thank you very much to Dr. Jun. Hopefully we can do some collaboration again someday. And selamat pagi. Selamat pagi.
Selamat pagi.
Malaysia sudah hampir.
Jun.
Ya, terima kasih. Di Malaysia hampir sudah tengah hari.
Oh iya.
Salam
sehat. Semoga teman-teman mahasiswa juga bisa memanfaatkan ya.
Ya, saya mendoakan semuanya berjaya, dapat graduate Convo dengan jayanya. Jangan putus asa. When you feel tired, you can rest.
It's time to picnic.
Yes. See, I have a beach at the back. When you feel tired, don't quit. Okay, just take a rest. Okay, thank you so much. Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam.
Terima kasih Mas Ersa. Thank you Bu Endang.
Ya, terima kasih.
Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam.